This episode of Mark Who 42 has been brought to you by Famous Faces and Funnies. If you are in the West Melbourne area and you want to check out a great comic book store, it's wall-to-wall, just endless rows of comic books and memorabilia that you can think of. Any geekdom anywhere should be satisfied by Famous Faces and Funnies. You need to check out these guys. They're located on 3020 New Haven Avenue West in West Melbourne, Florida. You can also reach them at 321-259-3575. Again, that's 321-259-3575. You can check out their location and business hours on their Facebook page at Famous Faces and Funnies. And just to let you know that they're celebrating their 23rd anniversary. I don't know how many comic book stores, Mark, they're out there that are celebrating 20-some-odd years in business. But they're celebrating the 23rd anniversary Saturday, March 4th, from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. with a special sale going on out there. So please check them out while you're out there in the Space Coast area and tell them Mark Who 42 sent you.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Radick. I played Gareth in the Doctor Who TV movie, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome to Mark Who 42 here on Krypton Radio. We are the best Doctor Who podcast out there, and we're going to prove it to you. Today we have our special guest interview with Jeremy Radick, who played... Do you know, Christian?
I do.
Well, then say it.
Oh, you want me to answer that question
His
for
name
you?
is the character's name was Gareth in the 1996 TV movie of Doctor Who. That interview is going to be done by myself, Iggy Matthews, and Zion Kiros. But first, we've got...
Christian Basil?
Yeah, Christian. We're going to have a lot of fun today, but let's go first to... the Doctor Who news with Christian Basil. Christian, we've got a lot of news. Well, actually, we don't have a lot of news, but we have a big news drop that came out just the other day.
Yeah, as far as Doctor Who news and quantity, we have not too much coming out over here, but as far as quality of news,
yes,
we got a few out there. But before we get to the big news, and if you're in the Whoniverse and don't know what just happened recently, you guys need to get with the social media a little bit more. We're going to start off with our good friend, Jimmy V. And if you guys don't know who Jimmy V is, if I say the names Bene Caphalata from the Christmas episode, The Voyage of the Damned, or if you don't know that particular character, which I don't know why, 13 million people saw it, so you may also know him as the Mox Balhoun, the little blue guy that Christopher Eccleston talks to in The End of the World, the second episode of the new rebooted series. But he has played quite a few, for a better term, monsters. I don't want to say monsters, aliens. Other than that,
aliens would be the right word.
Aliens. But that's not the reason why we're just mentioning him. If you've just recently known that Kenny Baker, who played the role of R2-D2 in the series 4, 5, and 6, and in the prequels, had just recently passed away. But in some light news, now we have another Doctor Who link with Jimmy V, as he is going to take over the role in the new series of Star Wars. He's going to be playing R2-D2 in the role of what Kenny Baker made famous. And we're really excited for him, so congratulations, Jimmy. I hate to say well done, great job, and everything like that, but we have now another sliver going into the realm from Doctor Who all the way up to Star Wars, and Jimmy V is going to be adding that as he ascends into the role of R2-D2. So congratulations, sir.
Will they keep calling him R2-D2, or will he be called R2-V2?
I'm
just saying.
And you know, if this and all these news articles that I'm going to be reading off of, you can catch them at mark242.net. But yeah, that is actually the title that our friend Gadget gave him. The title of the article is R2V2. So yeah, great well in the puns there, Gadget. Congratulations, Jimmy, from all of us, and hopefully we'll have you on the show to talk about it in more detail. But the big news in the Whoniverse is that a new trailer came out about the most dangerous man in the universe.
Woohoo!
And add your political pun right here. But but the most dangerous man in the universe as quoted by Bill in the new trailer that came out. It's about 30 seconds long. It features Bill and the Doctor and Nardole, it looks like they're running into something. It looks like they're running into danger while they look like they're in some kind of library that's exploding around them. And at one point, the Doctor takes out a sonic, and I don't know if it affected a light that exploded next to him or if he just pulled out a sonic. And the next thing you know, these ghost-like faces show up, and it looks like it's going to engulf them. For me, that's the trailer that actually is going, oh, wow, this looks like it could be something.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited. The title of the trailer is called A Time for Heroes. So, Mark, what did you think about this trailer? And what stuck out with you the most there?
The line, the most dangerous man in the universe. That's why I put it as the title of the article. That line, when Pearl Mackie says it, I'm like, oh, I just could not forget that line. And when I'm posting the article 15 minutes later, I'm not going back to the video to look at it. It's still in my mind. The most dangerous man in the universe. It kind of reminds me of the Dos Equos guy. You know, the commercials.
You stole my thunder on that.
It does that to me. It was the best line. And the actual trailer was so sleek. Was so amazing. It could be a multi-million-dollar feature film commercial. I mean, it is beautiful.
Yeah, the most dangerous man in the universe did bring me to the Dos Equis guy. I know I was waiting. I don't usually run in libraries that explode, but when I do, I stick out my sonic screwdriver and some ghostly things jump out at me. And Bill does the narrating. I mean, it was just... I think the things that caught me were there. If you look at the trailer, first of all, when she mentions him, the most dangerous man in the universe, his face at the moment that they capture it, he looks like the most dangerous man. The hair is all wiry. He looks like he's got this evil grin on his face. Now, I might be exaggerating about this, but if anybody thinks otherwise, please let us know. He looks determined. And maybe that wasn't the facial feature that he was kind of going for as far as what my mind registered, but I think he looked like he had this evil grin, like he knew what he was doing, and be damned about the consequences about it. I'm not saying that's what it was going for. That's what I got from the trailer. And also, maybe I don't think anybody noticed, but Nardole's face was in extreme terror.
Now, you can definitely watch this video here on markwho42.net. It's there in its entirety. But you know what? I think I'm going to play the audio for you because it sounds great. It looks great. You'll listen to it here. You'll watch it on markwho42.net. Let's play that 30 seconds now.
Sure.
The first time you meet him, he's funny. The second time, he's amazing. The third time, you realize he's the most dangerous man in the universe. He says he's a man of peace, but he walks in war. I'm having the time of my life, and I wouldn't miss it for the world, even if it kills me.
I cannot wait.
The audio alone was... Yeah, I'm sure the people who saw the trailer and are listening to the show right now are kind of geeking out, even with the audio version of it, just hearing Bill's voice about what she thinks about the Doctor and stuff. But yeah, you can go to markwho42.net and click on the link and see the trailer for yourself. I mean, it is just, after everything, people being a little skeptical about the previous trailers, this one is the one that, you know, it kind of says we're hitting the ground running, and literally they are. And it's just, you know, I'm hooked. I'm like, okay, we're ready to go. This is it. Whereas the previous trailers didn't kind of do it for me as well. It was Bill's story, where she works in a restaurant. You know, I'm Bill, and he's called the professor or something like that. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, this is the trailer that's like, we're ready to go.
Yeah, definitely.
And as a reminder, folks, this is going to premiere Saturday, April 15th for both BBC and BBC America. Check your schedule guide for when it's going to be the time that it is premiering. But we are all excited. Can't wait to talk about it, and we can't wait to start the new series, especially being 1 year. 1 year, I know I'm being selfish, but 1 year is too long to be out of Doctor Who, let alone. And I know we've been talking about Big Finish and how to cover for Wilderness Time, what I've called the Wilderness Time frame now, but it just isn't the same. I feel like it should be out every year, but that's just me being, you know, the selfish cad that I am. I want Doctor Who every day.
The selfish cad you are.
That's right. I don't even know where I got that from, but hey, I've been watching British TV for too long, so there.
There you go. All right. Do we have any more news, Christian?
For right now, no, let's go. Yeah, like I said, it's been a slow news week, but that trailer coming out, I think everybody is getting excited and starting to geek out. I can't wait for this year to get started.
Yeah, neither can I. Okay, well, since that's the end of the news, we're going to be right back. We're going to have our interview with Jeremy Radick, who played Gareth in the 1996 TV movie of Doctor Who. Iggy Matthews and Zion Kiros will be joining me for that, so please stick around for these commercials, and when we come back, we'll have that interview right here on Mark Who 42.
Coming May 19th through the 21st, Oasis 29 continues to celebrate excellence in science fiction and fantasy. Oasis 29 will take place at the Sheraton Orlando North Hotel, featuring special guest writer Faith Hunter. The best way to see Oasis 29 is with your 3-day weekend membership pass. Your pass will include full admission to all the art exhibits, dealer rooms, guest speakers, writing panels, and of course, a special appearance by your favorite Doctor Who podcast, Mark Who 42. A con suite for nourishment will be available on site. For more information, hotel rooms, and purchase for your tickets, including student discounts, go to www.oasfis.org/oasis. Oasis 29 is an event that promotes safe and fun environment for the entire family and upholds that cosplay is not consent. We look forward to seeing you there.
The voice of Christian Basil, take one.
Hi, I'm Christian Basil, and I would like to provide my voice for all your voiceover needs, such as...
Okay, like an announcer.
Like a what?
Like an announcer.
For all your voiceover needs, such as animation, radio, announcements, introductions...
Now an old man.
I can even record voicemail for all the Meshuggahs that call you.
A pirate.
Arr, and it won't cost you a lot of treasure for me services. Arr.
Creepy movie voice.
Just call 407-761-2679. 407-761-2679. Or email voiceofchristianbasil@yahoo.com. Well, how was that?
That's a wrap.
Hi, I'm Daphne Ashbrook, and you are listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome back to Mark Who 42, Doctor Who on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. We've got Iggy Matthews, we've got Zion Kiros, and we've got our interview guest. His name, well, you may know him from the Doctor Who TV movie as Gareth, but I know him as Jeremy Radick. Jeremy, hi.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we've been trying to set this up since Geekonomicon.
It's true.
We talked about it about 5-6 months ago.
That's right. I know, but just this is the way it goes, right? It's worked out for the best now. This is the best possible time. So
yes. So Jeremy, for those of our listeners who don't know who you are, and there probably are a few, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, well, I'm an actor. I'm originally from Vancouver, BC, Canada, and I started acting when I was professionally when I was 11, and did a lot of film and television in Canada for a long time. And during that time, also was cast in the Doctor Who TV movie. And proceeded to keep doing acting after that, and went to theater school in New York City, and did some theater there for a little while, and then returned back to Vancouver, where I had my own theater company for a brief period until I lost too much money. And that's the way it is with all theater companies, my friend. That's how it goes. And then did some shows and stuff like that in Vancouver for a while. But now I live with my family in Kansas City, Missouri. So that's where we live now. And right now I'm focusing mainly. I do a lot of writing. I've written for a couple of pop culture websites. One which is no longer around, called Nerds Unchained, which I wrote for a few years, doing mostly film and television reviews, feature stories, and comic book reviews. And now I write for capelesscrusader.org, which is the site I write for now. And we do that one. I mainly do reviews and recurring features. And so I'm focusing mostly on writing right now. I have a couple other projects that I can't really talk about. And one of the reasons, just because it's just there's stuff not finalized yet, but mostly if you want to read my writing, then it's on capelesscrusader.org, and I'm also sort of the resident Doctor Who person on that site for reasons that I'm sure we'll get into during the interview. And so that's mainly the writing is what I'm focusing on now, not for any particular reason, but mostly because I took time off from acting when my kids were born, and now living in Kansas City until our immigration stuff comes through, I'm actually legally prohibited from doing too much work. So the writing is about all that I can do on a freelance style based out of Canada. So that's basically what I'm doing now.
All right. Well, I know that one of the first things you did, you starred in a movie that before the show I was talking to my co-hosts about, and Zion says he saw it when he was like, what, you said 3 years old, Zion?
3, 4-ish, or along those lines. I have like very vague images of it.
The comic book Christmas Caper.
Oh my God.
Because you starred in that. You were
We are
Tommy.
reaching
This
back.
was about you.
I did. Oh my God. Wow, you guys have done your research.
It's called IMDb, Sonny
Yeah,
boy.
yeah, nice couch, by the way.
That is known in Canada as Angel Square. So that's how I know it. And for some reason it was huge in a variety of places. Ironically, not Canada, but Germany was strangely really into it. And I think
Germany
that's
likes
where
a lot of shows that
that's where it was huge. And it starred myself, I was the main character, and Ned Beatty was the other major actor in it.
Ned Beatty, the great Ned Beatty.
The amazing Ned Beatty.
Let's go. Or Superman. We can go.
You didn't tend to. Yeah, that's what I brought up with him being 13. I don't think I had seen Deliverance at that point. I might have. You never know, but I don't think I had seen it by that point. But he was a wonderful guy. I actually saw him many years after that when he was touring in Showboat on the stage, and we got together again. So he's a fantastic and an amazing actor and a really kind guy. And that was a great movie about a kid just after World War II in Canada, whose best friend is Jewish, and his best friend's father is beaten severely at work one night, and they don't know who did it, except that it was a hate crime. So my character attempts to solve the crime, take it upon himself to solve the crime as a young kid. And it was directed by a great director named Anne Wheeler, who was one of Canada's really top-notch directors. And she did this amazing thing where she integrated comics and the kids' fantasy lives into the stories. So, as I'm playing a character solving a crime, I may fantasize that I'm a, Humphrey Bogart or something like that, and the scene would change to reflect that. So it was kind of a mix between like the Wonder Years and Bugsy Malone and some of that stuff, and it was great. It was really innovative, and I'm really amazed that you saw that, because there's people in Canada who go, I don't remember that at all. So I hope you liked it. It was a really great film to make.
And really, I'm looking at the body of work you've done, and a lot of it is in the science fiction fantasy genre. Most of it. Now, a show like Max Glick, what was Max Glick? Because it was only on for a couple episodes, wasn't it?
Well, it did 2 seasons, but Canada has this weird thing about their television shows. We like to show them on TV and then burn them or never ever repeat them or show them
kind
ever.
of like the BBC did with Doctor Who.
Kind of like the BBC, yeah, very much so. So
they're the CBC, so
we take our cue from them. We like to follow in their footsteps. But yeah, Max Glick was very Wonder Years. That was also based on a Canadian movie about a Jewish kid. I'm not Jewish, but I play one.
I was going to ask. That was my next question. Are you Jewish?
No, I'm not Jewish.
Mark was going to get so excited.
I thought we finally had a Jew on the show besides me.
We were going to have a dreidel party. Oh my God, that's so cute.
I did play Bobby Rosenberg on that show, which is like the most Jewish name. He was.
I think Baumgarten. Yeah, it's more German.
That's
so
true.
Was the character a lawyer?
No,
I'm
the character.
joking.
Yeah. No, he was. I could charitably describe him as a buffoon. But he was the comedic kind of character on that show, sort of the friend who really wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. But that was a great show. We did that for 2 years. So that was like British seasons. They're about 13 to 15 episodes a season. So it was about 30 episodes. And that one is the one that one and another show I did called The Odyssey in Canada.
Right.
Those two that people remember.
So in The Odyssey, what kind of character was Fractal? What is that? I haven't seen The Odyssey, but I saw that name of the character you played, and it sounds interesting.
Along with Doctor Who, that's probably the film thing I did the most. I did 3 seasons on that show, and The Odyssey was really great. It's the story of the show was that there was a boy who fell from a treehouse and hit his head, went into a coma. And when he's
kind of like Life on Mars, in fact, if I'm
it
thinking
is
about
very
it.
much like actually Life on Mars is very similar. He goes
I think
into
Life on Mars stole from The Odyssey, really.
I was actually thinking Pagemaster a little bit, but
it's possible. I so strongly. Can we get money from them if we sue?
Possible.
I actually shared a picture here amongst the chat, which
I saw the picture.
I'll be sure to share it online, folks, so you guys can see it too. But I absolutely love this picture because it's like the nerdiest thing ever, and it's making me just fangirl all over, like, oh my god, yes, it's every con goer ever right there.
Yeah, wearing a Marvel T-shirt.
That's me. Yeah, that's me.
I know that.
In the
walking
TARDIS.
out.
I have a good story about that particular day, which I'll tell you in a minute. But The Odyssey, the kid goes into a coma. When he's in the coma, he's in a world, a fantasy world, where there's no one over the age of 16 who exists. But the society is a fascist, totalitarian society. So it's almost like if there was a little kid's version of Mad Max. That's basically...
what a lovely day!
Wait a minute, they did a show like that in Australia called Tribe.
Tribe. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so The Odyssey, I played Fractal. Fractal was the Robert Oppenheimer of the show. So he was a scientist, and he was used by the state to invent devices to stop our hero, our main character, who had this sort of prophecy about him about ruining the world. And that show actually wound up being selected. It went to Germany for
Germany again.
Yeah, I know. See, I'm huge in Germany.
Yeah.
By
the way, did you know that Germany is getting a DVD release of Unearthly Child? I just heard.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
The only thing about Germany, I can just all I can do is really just fake it. Sprechen Doctor. That sounds legit, right? But I'm pretty sure it's not.
Well, I have a German last name, so there you go. Now, in The Odyssey, so you played the Oppenheimer character. But you were also, I take it they went back and forth from the inner world in the coma, the fantasy world, and the real world.
Yeah, that's right.
So you played a character named Nathan in the real world. Now, who was Nathan in relation to the main character?
It's great. He actually, at first I was only in what they called the down world. But when I went to the up world, which was reality, they created Nathan. Nathan was, and I could never honestly get feedback on this from the writers, but Nathan was either the owner, which I thought was extreme for a 16-year-old, the owner of a comic book store, or a manager of a comic book store.
You're probably the manager.
Probably, but I had an obscene amount of leeway and latitude. I mean, it was ridiculous. If you watch the show, I was, there were no adults anywhere. I'm 16. I'm ordering, little kids around, and it's sort of, one time read the script and went like, am I paying taxes on this store? Like, what is happening? What is going on?
The most adult thing ever.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And so that show was every Canadian actor that I know of was on that show. Ryan Reynolds did it for a couple of years.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
So, he did it for a couple of years, and Mark Hildreth, who's done a bunch of anime and V and stuff like that, did it, and tons of kids. I think Devon Sawa was on it, who did like a bunch of stuff in the late 90s. So it was kind of a stomping ground for a lot of young actors at the time. Yeah, and that was 3 years. That's the one where people in Canada, if they know me from that for sure.
Yeah,
which is rare.
Now, and I assume from there you got American TV work that was filmed in Vancouver, such as The X-Files. Now we have a bet going. Can you pronounce the name of the episode you were in?
I was told that it was pronounced Zizaji.
I was the closest, I think.
Yeah, but none of us on the set could pronounce it. I did a very, very small part on that. And there's a funny story about that, actually. The scene is, I'm doing a eulogy for Ryan Reynolds, actually, his character, which I joked with him later. I was like, I've always wanted to talk over your casket. But
I like that. We're going to bring that up when we have Ryan on the show.
He's a funny man. He joked. Yeah. But I did his eulogy. And the joke of that episode is that he is killed after performing a eulogy on another character. Mm-hmm. And the opening lines of my eulogy are the same as his. But then after that, it was one of those scenes that always happen in the X-Files. There's a funeral going on. And then David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson stand at the back and talk with local law enforcement while the eulogy continues. So the audition was, can you come in and improv some lines, after these opening 2 lines, because we just want to see how you're going to do. So I improv it, and Rob Bowman was directing, and he cast me. And then on the day, we were doing the blocking rehearsal, and no one really talked to me about what was going to happen. They just said, okay, go ahead and say your lines, we'll start, and then we'll see. And what I had just didn't know was what they really wanted me to do was to say the 2 lines, then kind of mime talking, because they really wanted to rehearse the Gillian David stuff. I didn't know that, so I just kept on talking. And I talked for probably about 5 minutes, 6, 7, getting into 10-minute care. And I stopped and I realized everyone's staring at me because they had stopped rehearsing the rest of the scene 5 minutes ago, and I was still just going. And David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson said, we just wanted to see how long you could go before you ran out of stuff to say about Ryan. And that was a fun time.
Jesus, that's something I would do. I'm like, everybody, no, say nothing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just
it was like a prank.
Nothing.
It was a good set.
Good.
Yeah, they did. It was good. I eventually just ran out of steam and looked around really? Am I still going on? Okay.
That kind of reminds me of the time that I didn't hear my friend's voicemail beep because I wasn't paying attention, and I got recorded being really angry. I don't appreciate you just sitting in silence. Did you mute your phone? What's going on? I don't have the patience for this. I'm going to hang up and call you back. And then, that's still kept over my head to this day.
Wow, that's like an unintentional butt dial. That's what that
Almost. Almost, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I suppose a butt dial is unintentional anyways, but that's even worse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know. That thing has a mind of its own. It's always behind me. I can't keep an eye on it.
Now, I'm going to jump over the topic of Doctor Who for just a few moments. We'll come back to, we will come back to Doctor Who. This is
good. I hope so.
42.
Oh, yeah. We will. We will.
In 1999.
Oh my God.
It's a while back.
It's like this is your life. That's what this feels like.
Yeah, let's put this into perspective. I was 10 years old.
I know. Oh wow. Well, that makes me feel decrepit. Mm-hmm. But other than
that, don't worry because I was 32.
Oh, okay. I feel better. Thanks.
I was 4.
Oh, Zion!
You're not.
No.
You guys aren't helping.
Zion shouldn't be here. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were in 2 episodes of that, weren't you?
Yeah, I did a couple episodes of that, both directed by Peter Scolari.
I love Peter Scolari from Newhart.
He is. Yeah, he's an amazing guy, actually. Really amazing guy.
And Bosom Buddies, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you played a character called Reeboks?
Yep, I was an alien.
Yeah, and that's a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was my big prosthetic. I had to do prosthetics for that, so that was a full head cast, and that was some good times. But a long process. I'd never done that extensive type of makeup work before, so that was an education. It's always fun. And Peter was an amazing guy. Peter is a man of exceptional skills. He's a clown, and I mean that in the literal sense. He can juggle and tap dance and do clowning, and he is an incredible ping pong player.
Oh.
Which not many people know, but I think he trained...
I did not know that. You heard that first here on Mark Who 42.
He trained Tom Hanks for all the ping pong stuff in Forrest Gump. Now, they did a lot of that CG, but he made it so that it looked like Tom Hanks knew what he was doing. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Mm. And so, like I said, you did 2 episodes of that, and, and then a couple, about 2 or 3 years later, you did 2 episodes of a show which, I have a little problem thinking of it as a show. Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. Because that was the show, if I remember correctly, Jonathan Frakes did this show.
Yeah.
And basically they had like 3 stories, and you had to guess which were the real ones and which was the fake story.
Yes. I did 2 of those?
You did too. And you played a parking attendant in both of them.
Yeah, I don't remember doing that at all. I remember one of them. I remember getting it, and I remember like going, I guess I'm in that show. But I don't remember anything about. I wish I could tell you a story. I don't remember anything about filming it.
Well, like I said, I don't really consider it a TV show.
No, it was. Yeah, there's a lot.
What it was, but it was.
There's a substantial amount of my work that you could barely consider entertainment. So that's okay.
To jump back onto 1999, you did a movie called Y2K.
Oh, yes.
And since I wasn't around for Y2K, I'm kind of interested about this. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, there's nothing like knowing you're being cast in something that 6 months after it's made, no one will ever want to watch ever again. It's like, and you know what? I think that I have done 2 or 3 projects that circle around the transition from into the year 2000, because Doctor Who also takes place on that New Year's.
Yes, Doctor Who does.
Y2K, that was insane, really. Everyone thought the world was going to end. Everyone legitimately thought it was going to be like the end of Escape from LA, where Snake sets off the bomb and then all the lights in the world go out. That's what people honestly. I remember that New Year's watching the thing happen in Papua New Guinea. You were watching, their lights are still on. I guess we're fine.
Yeah, no, you're over here watching it, and it's like 3, 2, 1. No,
I was waiting for all the planes to drop from the sky.
So there were lots of movies that came out about horrible things happening. Now, the thing about when you get cast in a movie like that, the first thing you realize to your horror is that it's going to all be night shoots. So we shot all of that night shoot stuff in an abandoned sugar refinery plant that was flooded. So
that sounds pretty sweet.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's nothing like Canada in November, to do a lot of exterior stuff. I mean, it was Doctor Who was cold, and I didn't even have to go outside in that one. This was all exterior stuff, and it's no fun. But the shoot was pretty fun. I think it was Ken Olin was the star of that show.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken was a really good guy, and there was another. I just remember my co-star at the time, or one of the guys I was acting in a scene with, not to tell stories out of school, but he was really he was at the beginning of trying to embark on a rap career. Mm-hmm. So it was and he was not conversant in being proficient at it as of yet. I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to say it, but he really wanted to practice for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So there were lots of moments where I went, oh my God, I just need to, I don't know, why am I doing this? But sure, I don't think anyone has ever seen that after it aired. I don't think it's ever been seen again. So
what's funny about that is that when you mentioned Y2K and I was a child, I thought that Y2K, because adults weren't giving me very many answers. So I'm like, okay, so Y and K are switching positions in the alphabet. I don't know why. That makes no sense. And why are people freaking out about it?
How would you have pronounced Kentucky? That would have been chaos.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, no, I need to write this down now. Hold on a second.
Go ahead. If Y and K had switched positions. No, Tempest in a Teapot, that was, I'll tell you.
You also, much later, which is still it's 10 years ago, really, Psych. Yeah. You were in Psych. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great time, too, actually. That was fun. James Raday's on it, and Dule Hill, it was great to meet Dule, who I just thought was such a gigantic talent and such an amazing guy, so that was fun. And Tim Ombudsman, I'm going to say that wrong. Say his last name.
That's about right.
Yeah, Tim. That was who my scene was with, and he was. I just wanted to ask him about being on Seinfeld, which he was kind enough to talk to me about. But he was a good guy too. I saw him in a movie theater later, on the street or outside the street in Vancouver, and he turned to me, remembered me, and just said, "Hey, your stuff was really funny. I've seen it, but it hasn't aired yet, but it's really funny. So can't wait for you to see it." And that's that's stuff that actors don't usually tell day players. that was what my career mainly was, coming in for a day, doing Canadian TV shows, but on American stuff. I mostly worked a day here, a day there, or 4 or 5 days here, So
I'm betting the next thing you did was done in about half a day, and you got to go home before lunch. But Reaper, which I got to say, I love that show.
Yeah.
I wish it had gone on.
Yeah, that was a fun
I am
show.
upset that it got canceled because I love Ray Wise. I love Twin Peaks was great, but Reaper was a great show. And really, all you were was a customer at Workbench.
Yeah, and I always remember I have a special place in my heart for Reaper because I was on the set of Reaper, and that's when my wife phoned me and told me she was pregnant with our first child.
Yeah, I brought that up then. Wow.
Yeah, so she told me, and I couldn't tell anyone because it's very early on, but that's when she told me she was pregnant with our first child. So we named her Reaper.
Ray?
No, we named her Reaper. Her name is Reaper. No,
okay, I was going to say, yeah.
But no, Ray. Yeah, and Ray was a great guy. He was a very that's a guy that's worked with so many amazing people. So you try not to be like, hey, why don't you just tell me about everyone you've ever worked with? But
like we're doing to you.
Yeah, but that's that's fine. I'm setting up for that. But so you kind of have to play it cool a little bit, and you want to be professional, but you can't help by going, hey, what's Lynch really like? And his answer, polite. So.
By the way, it would be pronounced Yentusick. Yentusick. Okay, I had to figure. It was killing me.
That would just be murder.
I had to write it. I had to write it down.
Yeah, we're having a conversation, and she's completely ignoring us.
No, it's fine. Nobody wants to order Yentusick fried chicken.
No, I don't want Yentusick.
That sounds actually quite disgusting.
That's why
I'm done. I'm going to Popeyes.
YFC. That's why it's YFC.
YFC.
Yentusick.
That's like airport. I'm flying into YFC later.
Yeah. Eat some Yentusick.
Yentusick fried chicken.
So, can you go ahead and tell me explain to me what am I looking at in this picture? What was so special about that day?
Yeah, now this is a picture, once again, let's bring up what this picture is. And this picture is on the Mark Who 42 site that's airing this episode. It's a picture of Jeremy wearing a Marvel t-shirt, stepping out of the TARDIS, and a look on his face. I can't even describe what you're looking.
It's as if Cybermen were coming over the hill.
Okay,
that's the look on my face.
Yep, that is.
Yeah, it's I took that with the guys who run Geeknomicon. They have a pretty screen accurate TARDIS that they take around to different cons. And that was at Kansas City's Comic-Con. I think KC Comic-Con or Planet Comic-Con. One of the two.
Oh, I remember this TARDIS because they had this TARDIS when I was doing Dallas Fan Expo last year.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Tulsa TARDIS, they call it.
Yeah, the Tulsa TARDIS.
And so I ran into the guys there. And they're like, hey, take a picture. It's great. So they took a picture and everything because I was going to be at their con. And so they wanted to use some photos to pump that up. And I was happy to do that. And I was actually there in my capacity as a writer interviewing some comic book people, so that's why I had the Marvel shirt on. Mm-hmm. And what was funny about this is I noticed there were people in costume, Doctor Who costume, and they were very nervous, and they were like, you could get photos with the TARDIS. And I was like, why are they so nervous? And they came up to them, and they said, can we get a picture? And they're like, absolutely, you can take a picture with the TARDIS. Like, no, we want a picture with you. And they're pointing at me. Which doesn't really happen because, at a Doctor Who con, people know who I am, but at general cons, they usually don't. And so I was like, oh, yeah, sure. So I'm going in there thinking, wow, this is weird, but they must be really big Doctor Who fans. And so they're taking pictures, and they're crazy nervous, like in a way that no one is ever nervous around me, like crazy nervous. And I'm thinking, something's a little weird here, but that's fine. I just hope they're enjoying it, and we're chatting. And then the woman takes out a trading card, and hands it to me, goes, could you sign this? And she hands it to me, and it's Arthur Darvill, who plays Rory. And I had to turn her, and I'm like, oh, honey, I'm not Arthur Darvill. I had to say, I'm sorry to disappoint. I really didn't want her to, don't take, now I'm just going to be this weird guy that's in all your photos. No, I'm not that, I'm not that dude. I'm like, he's around, because he was at that con. And I'm like, he's around here. I'm like, he's much taller than me and very much more English than I am. So, I felt really bad, but I always remember that, okay, I'm not, it was a weird situation where I'm just involved enough in Doctor Who that it was conceivable they could want to have their photo taken with me, but they were a little too impressed for me to go, no, this can't just be me. This has got to be something else.
I think we're going to call this episode "I'm Not Arthur Darvill."
Yeah,
I think
but
we have
that's
the
flattering,
episode title.
though.
it's very flattering. I mean, I think he's way more handsome than I am, and I'm not inviting you to go, no, pshaw. I think he objectively is, and taller, and more British, and more, much more involved in Doctor Who. But it was nice for
I beg to differ. I have a really reliable source here called your wife that would beg to differ, and that's the opinion that matters.
Yeah,
right
but
there.
she hasn't met Arthur. That's the important thing to note.
No,
I got to keep
no.
those
You don't
two
need to
apart.
worry about that unless it's Gerald Butler. Then you're in trouble. Anybody else, you're fine. You're fine.
No, my wife, I was already. We have a contract. She gets to leave me for Ewan McGregor, so I just have to keep.
Well,
us.
I think everybody has that in their marriage contract now. I think
absolutely.
It's in there.
Can't blame him.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, my get out of marriage card is Arthur Darvill, so it's a weird. It's a weird
We should call it
coincidence.
that. Maybe we'll call it that.
Yeah, it's a
My
weird
get out
coincidence.
of marriage card is Arthur
Yeah.
Darvill. All right. And now, since we are talking Doctor Who, let's
Yeah.
talk Doctor Who. And I want to get back to the Doctor Who TV movie in 1996, where you played Gareth, who, in my opinion, snot-nosed kid who thinks that he has the right to order people around. Was that your character?
I was a security guard, so
Well,
yeah.
but you were
Right.
well. You were also a student.
Yeah, it's very. The reason why is because it changed. When I first read the script, he was a scientist, not a security guard. Somehow it got changed. I'm not exactly sure how, but between one draft and another, I believe he became a security guard. So it made more sense that I was both somehow a scientist, like an intern type of thing. But when they change it to a security guard, you're like, that's weird. He's a scientist who's also a security guard. Those careers do not seem to overlap. But, what the heck? I played it anyway. But it's actually a funny story about how I got the role. I was a lifelong Doctor Who fan ever since I was a little kid. And so at this point, yeah, I know. I don't think I'm talking. I'm talking to my people right now.
Yes, you are.
We're all together. So I was a huge fan. I had all the books. I had video cassette. That was the days of video cassettes. So I had the video cassettes and everything. And it was just it was like an obsession, and still is. But it was even more so then at that point. And I was also stage managing a play at that time, a series of plays. And one of the actors in the plays came to rehearsal one day, and he said, I auditioned for this weird thing today. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't listening. I was kind of paying attention to a dozen different things. I wasn't really, focused. I'm like, oh yeah, what was it all about? And he goes, wow, it's like Sherlock Holmes in space, and the guy has a phone booth, and I don't really understand. It was like he was like a professor or something, and I'm like, yeah, that's weird. And I walked away, and I went, hang on, are you talking about Doctor Who? And he goes, yeah. And so I was like, all right, hold on a second. I called my agent, and I said, I'll be a chair or a potted plant. I will literally be the scenery. I don't care, but you got to get me into this movie. And back in those days, one of the things that's important to remember is, no internet really to speak of. So, I knew that it was around, that there was talk, but there was always talk about it coming back.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know, and if I did, I would have told my agent, submit me. And I was probably, taking time off to do this play anyways. And so my agent calls the casting director who said, I've the way it works is I bring in my first couple rounds of people, I whittle it down, and then the director's going to come in. I only want the director to see 2 or 3 people, so I'm not opening it back up again. And my agent said, listen, who else, how many times have you had to explain what this show is to someone auditioning? And she's like, oh my God, all the time. No one knows what this thing is. And my agent just says, you know what? Tell the director he'll never have to explain anything to this actor. He'll get every joke. He'll get every reference. He'll know exactly how to react. It'll cut the directing time down.
Right.
And when you're auditioning to play, do a day's worth of work, that's important because, they don't have time to hold your hand. They want you to hit the ground running. And she said, okay, I'll tell you what. This is when the auditions are happening. Tell him to come. I can't promise that, we can see him. So basically, I wound up crashing the audition is basically what happened. I went in and Jeffrey was there and I auditioned and got the part. And from there, I basically then had to calm the hell down so that I wasn't a complete basket case by the time I got there. And really the only people who knew that I was a big fan on the set were Jeffrey and Philip Siegel. Matt Jacobs didn't know, and Daphne and Yuji and Paul certainly didn't know, and Eric didn't know. None of them knew, because I didn't want to, I knew that it's a big deal to join a franchise like that, and I didn't want them to be acting across from someone they thought was going to be judging them. So I kept it really, really quiet. But inside I was going at everything. And, Philip was really nice. He was like, come see the TARDIS and come hold the sonic screwdriver. And so we shot the thing, and I met Paul. And the other funny thing is I was a gigantic fan of Withnell and I, which is a movie Paul did.
Yeah.
Every actor is a fan of that movie. And, I could also quote that movie at him. And I was like, that's probably a bad idea too.
Yeah.
So let's keep that quiet. And so I got to meet Eric, and I got to see Paul, and it was incredible. It was a dream come true. It was really just, and it's still the thing I talk about by far the most.
I can totally tell you're trying so hard not to fangirl right now. And I commend you. I commend you.
No, it was gigantic. It was huge. It was huge. Such a huge thing for me to do it. And also, actors, especially an actor like myself who's, does day playing stuff and Canadian stuff, you don't get to do a lot of stuff that is going to be around forever. For me, it's a tiny little blink and you'll miss me in X-Files and this, and that's to know that something I did is part of something much larger and part of something that I love. It's great. It's
your legacy.
It is. My legacy is eating a jelly baby, which is many actors, better actors than I have legacies like that.
Did you answer the question correctly on the tests?
I assume yes.
Good, because that's important. Because if you hadn't, we wouldn't be talking to you right now.
I know. That's right. Ooh.
So, Jeremy, we met at Geekonomicon, and it was a convention in Oklahoma City.
Was it romantic?
Being in Vancouver, you probably have experienced earthquakes before, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I was on the top floor of that hotel.
I had never been in an earthquake. And to be honest, I don't know what the big deal about earthquakes is. Because, it felt like I was in one of those magic finger beds. Because I was in bed when it happened.
What floor were you on, may I ask?
I wasn't... I think I was only on the 13th... I don't even remember. 13th floor? It wouldn't be the 13th because no.
If you're on the 13th floor, you were in the Twilight Zone.
Well,
probably.
I may have been. They're saying it was like the worst earthquake in the area for a long time, and I'm like, what? What's wrong with an earthquake?
Yeah, it didn't.
42, where we tempt Mother Nature into get another go. I'm
waiting for the tsunami from the earthquake in the Atlantic.
You live in Florida too, so it's you're like, come down here and see our hurricane, suckers. That's basically.
I was in Andrew. I was in Hurricane Andrew. I don't know what you guys complain about earthquakes for.
Oh well, that's one of the reasons why you'd want to live in Oklahoma. Is it's in the middle of the country. There's not.
Well, when the water rises.
Yeah, exactly. When the water rises, you in Florida, you're going to be, in a rowboat, and everyone in Oklahoma is going to be laughing at you.
I'll be there.
So don't get too snippy over there, Mike.
But anyway, at this convention, I got to interview you during the showing. We did a little pre-showing of the TV movie for everyone, and we did a little short interview, and then Devin Pike got to do a big interview with everyone on the next night.
Showboat.
Right, but I got to ask you and Daphne and Sylvester and Paul. Eric wasn't. I don't think Eric showed up to this screening, which was disappointing, actually. But
doing a photo op or something. I can't remember.
He was doing in fact, you're right. He was doing a photo session. That's why he couldn't come. But I asked several questions to you guys, and you know what? I actually saved the list of questions that I asked you guys.
Oh, no.
And I thought I'd ask you some of the questions I asked then, because only, the people who were at the convention heard you answer them, and I thought maybe it would be good for everyone to hear.
Sure. Don't fact check me and make sure that they're exactly
it may not be the exact... Well, next one, we will have to fact check the first one.
All right, so I have to, close out of Google right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fondest memories... What is your fondest memory of filming the Doctor Who movie?
Doing it.
Just doing it.
Just doing it. I mean, as
not
the
answer you gave, but that's
what,
okay.
What did I say?
I don't remember.
Okay. No, just doing it was great. Was a huge amount of fun. I mean, like knowing that I got to be someone who was with the Doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just I think I would have been really. I mean, not that I would have turned up my nose at any part in Doctor Who, but I mean, if I had been in the hospital, like one of the hospital administrator guys, or even. Even Will Sasso, who's in it, and he gets like two really great scenes, like better scenes than mine for sure.
Gets
and he's
to do that fall.
hysterical.
He gets
to do that fall, and he gets to say, what is my favorite joke? He does one of the best jokes in the movie. He goes, "You think you would have gone to another hospital?" Or he says, I remember telling Will I thought that was great. But I think I would have been I love the scene that I have with them, and I love that, there's an interaction and a connection, and also that, it's just a nice moment, and being part of that world now is great. I mean, I've gotten to meet people that are straight up my heroes. I've gotten to meet, Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy, and who I didn't meet on the set, and hang out with them. And I got to meet my favorite companion. I got to meet Fraser Hines, who's my favorite companion, Jamie. He's, I've gotten to meet him and drink with him. It's a great. It's common, but
I wasn't going to say that, but yes.
It's a great. We got to talk. I sat with Fraser and I was like, okay. He was, talking. We were chatting, and I said, I don't know if I even want to mention Doctor. Tell me about Charlie Chaplin, because he got to work with Chaplin. Yeah. It's an amazing family. They're really very welcoming, and Colin Baker, all of them. They're all just very sweet. So it's been quite a nice introduction to them over the last couple of years, and just the memory of being on the set, doing a thing that I loved, being part of a thing that I loved. That's a big plus for me.
Yeah. The next question I want to ask you, because. Like you said a few minutes, now about half an hour ago, that you write for a living, that part of what you do is write, and that you've directed theater productions, especially in like the Fox and Hounds Theater Company that you were a co-founder of. Would you like to write or direct for Doctor Who now?
Yeah, it's funny. I was at a convention. I was at Li Who.
Yes.
This last go around, and met with Nick Briggs, and he and I got along really well. And in the back of my head, even though we didn't chat about it at the time, but in the back of my head, I was thinking like, fun to write a Big Finish. I'd never written an audio play before, and I was like, I would love to. I don't think it would be. I don't know how likely it is, but it's certainly something that I've got ideas. Every Doctor Who fan has got Doctor Who story ideas in their brain for sure. So,
well, actually, you shouldn't just write or direct for Big Finish. You should actually be on Big Finish because Yiji and Daphne have done it, and Nick is a friend of the show, Mark Who 42, and actually maybe I should send him off an email saying, "Hey, Nick, you should have asked him to be in it, like Daphne and Yi."
Put a bug in his ear. Well, I did get egregiously intoxicated that the night we met. So he may be going, oh my dear God. But he's a great guy, Nick, and really just the stuff he's done with Big Finish is brilliant. Mm-hmm. So I would be honored, and if you feel like doing it, I'm not going to say no.
Mark Who 42 with the hookup. Yeah.
There you go. I'll send your 10%.
That would be very important. So here's the question that I think everyone liked to answer, and Daphne had a good time with it as well, Daphne Ashbrook. If you had a time machine, where would you go and who would you visit? And I don't expect you to give me the same answer because you probably don't.
I always give the same answer.
Oh, you do. Yeah, you
do. I do. I would go back to the BBC in 1967 and prevent them from erasing all of Doctor Who so we could have Doctor Who full stop. It's not very lofty, but I think that would be just...
But that's an important one.
Yeah, no, I absolutely would. That's
probably the most important one that you could do.
Damn it, I need to see Evil of the Daleks, damn it. That's what I want to see.
Well, if they do more animation, I'm betting that's the next one they do. They did Power of the Daleks. I think Evil of the Daleks would be next.
Yeah, it would be something.
Yeah.
More Troughton. Everyone needs more Troughton.
Oh, we need more Troughton. Troughton was
most definitely
great. All right, I'm going to let my co-hosts ask the next few questions. Go ahead, ask anything you want of Jeremy Radick.
Anything?
Anything? Yes.
Okay. All right. I didn't read
we
that.
We may change the title. We may change the show to what's it called, Iggy?
After Dark.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So go ahead.
That's like literally
That's
the
the way
running
to do
joke. Anytime there is any sort of innuendo, I have to make sure to highlight it and make Mark feel exceptionally awkward.
That was classic. That's great radio voice right there. That's Howard Stern stuff right there. Well done.
Oh, I'm not losing you to Howard Stern. You're contracted here, Iggy.
Yeah, no, Mark snatched me up. I'm on a pretty tight schedule here.
There you go. That's the way it should be.
But Zion.
Oh, okay.
Ask away, Zion.
Okay, so from fellow writer to writer,
sure.
I would like to know, in what you have written, how do you write your characters?
That's a good question. I think that you have to. I'm a big believer in intention and obstacles, so that's kind of what I always think of. So the screenplay that I'm writing right now, I had this idea for a long time, and I couldn't quite manage to get the main character active enough until I changed his intention and clarified his obstacles. So any scene that I'm doing, if I can't figure out what the intention is and what the obstacles are, then I always have to refine that. And what I find is that if you make those specific enough and you make them have high enough value, that character emerges. So, if you've got a character that's got a mission to, and I don't mean mission in like the James Bond sense, but I just mean in terms of having a strong enough goal in mind, and then you have a clear and specific obstacle. And it could be an obstacle that's personal, like the obstacle could be their own weaknesses and flaws, or it could be something external. But if you make those things specific and high value enough, you'll find that characters will emerge. Also I think as part of that, what fills in the sort of shade of characters and makes them come alive as people is when you start thinking about tactics. So if your character's intention is to, let's say in a scene, is to, hook up with this person they're dating or get them into a bedroom. I'll remember this from theater school all the time. We did a scene from a View from the Bridge, which is an Arthur Miller play. And I put down my intention for working on the scene as trying to get this woman into bed, basically. And at one point, we started improvising, which is a thing that you do in theater school because that's what you do. And things started to go very well. And I remember my teacher saying, "Well, you'd won right there. Why did you try to go back to the scene and finish the dialogue? If your intention was to get her into the bedroom, you guys were halfway there. So why didn't you? Why go back to the scene?" And that's an acting note, but it really helped me with writing because it made me go, okay, if that's my intention, then maybe the character needs to be funny. Maybe the character needs to be serious. Maybe the character needs to be intense. And if you just let the mechanics take over, I find that you can really craft characters. Whenever I try to be like, I'm going to make this guy quirky, it's terrible. It's just terrible. But if I make it that, okay, he's got this intention and there's an obstacle in his way and he's thinking of maybe he's going to do a really strange way of trying to succeed at it or an off-kilter way of trying to succeed at it. Well, then all of a sudden he becomes quirky and interesting and unusual because I've been clear on my goals there.
Okay, so very similar to the Christmas episode of Doctor Who with the male nanny and the superhero.
Right.
Aspect going on. Okay, all right. So basically the fact that you failed initially, you were halfway there, and something happened. That's every nerd ever trying to get a girl.
Yeah.
So very realistic,
very
though.
True.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very true.
True.
Very true. It's not every nerd ever, because even people who are good at it, they still have the same level of anxiety about it. They're just either better at covering it or better at executing. But
because there's this thing that gets in the way. The obstacle that you keep speaking about is called breasts. That's what the problem is. That's what their ultimate failure is, because the minute you break eye contact, it's all out of the window.
That's true. You're right about that. Should explain. I'm writing this down, Iggy. I'm putting down notes. Breasts are the problem. Okay, good.
That's the obstacle.
Don't stare at the breasts. No, because this is my thing. I had always just stared at the breasts, and that explains a lot. retrospect.
Yeah, see,
Okay,
staring at the breast, that normally is not what you want to do, because usually the woman then gets out her hand and slaps you on the face. It's not. It's like a if-then statement. If you look at women's breasts, then slap on the face. You don't
This
want
interview
that.
is clearing up so much for me, you guys.
Yeah,
I'm glad
typically
we
I
can
just
help
I
you
go
here
for
on
the
Mark
awkward
42.
approach.
It's good.
I go for the awkward approach. I just kind of lean down a little bit. I'm like, hey, I'm up here. Yeah, what's
Yeah,
up? How's it
that's
going?
good. That's
But
important.
Iggy, if you could, you totally would slap the guy, wouldn't you?
No, honestly, because I feel like that's something that's very natural. I mean, there's the whole breastfeeding thing. I mean, it's you have been from
all
a
you
little
women out
age.
there, let us look at your breast. I mean, really, is that what you're saying? We should.
not
I
part of
would
this.
love to.
Not part
I
of
would
this,
love
Iggy.
to be able to go to the pool without a shirt on, but unfortunately, the mammary glands do attract quite a bit of attention.
Well, you know, in some countries other than the United States, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's true.
Yeah,
Just go
but
to
welcome
France
to
and you're
the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And welcome you, Jeremy, to the
Thank
United
you.
States. Since
Thank you. I picked a heck
were
of a
in
time to
Canada.
come down, didn't I?
You had a you left.
He's got an issue with timing here. He just needs to figure that out.
That's true.
I was going to say he left Trudeau and he has Trump now. They start with the
No,
same
when
few
I
letters.
when I left,
They-
it was Stephen Harper,
I know.
and when I came down, it was Obama. You guys and Canada all flipped it all around.
Well,
So,
Trudeau's I think Trudeau's is a charismatic, nice guy.
yeah, my wife just
like
says
that.
hot. You don't have to get all fancy. You can just
Yeah.
say he's hot. He's hot.
He's hot. He's hot.
I actually-
Well,
Hot.
yeah.
Here
He's
comes
hot.
another.
Trudeau's
Here
hot.
comes another good story. I went and saw Star Wars: Attack of the Clones with Justin Trudeau.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
He is a huge Star Wars fan, and I
Yeah.
was meeting a friend of mine. She said, I'm going to be a little late, but my friends are in line. And I said, well, how will I recognize him? And she goes, you'll recognize him. And sure enough, there he was. And I'm like, oh.
I recognize him.
I
Okay,
recognize
I do.
Wow. I don't think Trump would let us go to see Star Wars with him. I don't. Would he even go see Star Wars? Do you
He's
think
never
he-
seen Star Wars.
He's never seen Star Wars?
Oh, I don't think he's. I think the last movie he saw was probably Red Dawn.
Which version? Which version?
Oh, the Swayze version. He's
Oh,
he's
okay,
not-
good. So he has some taste. That's always good to know that he has some taste. Good.
All right,
And that's enough
boys,
politics.
I have a
That's enough
question.
politics. Enough
Sure.
politics.
I have a question. Yeah, let's get away from Orange Caligula for a second, okay?
Yes.
So I have a show. It's called Let's Be Reals, and it's all about nerd and geekdom. Okay.
Right.
Now I have to get this information for my own personal kicks. It's actually two questions. First of all, Marvel or DC? You got to pick one.
Okay, I got to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, overall Marvel.
Okay, perfect. If you could be a Marvel superhero yourself, who would it be and why?
It would be Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is the Hamlet of superheroes. Spider-Man is the most interesting and the most nuanced, and he's great.
Yeah, he's pretty good at getting the girl halfway and then looks at the boobs and
And
you know.
gets slapped.
How can you tell with the mask on? You can't tell with the mask on if he's looking. That's the great thing
Spider-Man
about
gets
Spider-Man.
to get kissed upside down, and you know that's sexy.
You know, the only reason he did that was so he could avoid the breast. The top of his head literally rested there, so he cannot look at them.
It's very.
It was focused.
You know what?
That's true.
Sam Raimi probably was thinking the very same thing. You're right.
This is more breast talk than I usually do on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
there you go.
we talk about a lot of things beyond the Hooniverse here on Marku 42.
That's good.
That we're talking about celestial bodies, honestly. We're still keeping it relevant.
Yeah.
It's true. Right.
So Jeremy, who was your first Doctor? Because you said you watched it when you were a child.
The first Doctor. Well, you know, one of my very first memories was John Pertwee's last season title sequence, which
You see,
I scared the
because-
bejesus out of me.
Yeah, see, you were lucky because you, living in Canada, you got the John Pertwee stories.
We did. We got them. and
Only
but
a few channels in America got some John Pertwee, and not in my town. I started with Tom Baker, like most Americans who watched it back then. But you got to watch John Pertwee and got scared to the bejesus.
Yeah, I
from
don't
the
think I ever
telesequence.
watched the show. I think that's my first memory.
Wow.
But the first time I remember watching it was Peter Davison. But if my favorite Doctor is Patrick Troughton forever. So that's my guy. I usually people ask me that question when I'm sitting next to Paul or Sylve, and I feel like going like besides the two people sitting 3 feet away from me. It would have, but I think
that's cool. Patty, one of our co-hosts, would agree with you that Troughton, because
but you're always safe saying Patrick Troughton, especially around actors, because actors, even fellow doctors, universally think he's incredible.
Well, I mean, Matt Smith kind of based his doctor on Pat Troughton.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. He was the best.
And it's interesting, he's the only classic doctor who, and I don't count William Hartnell because he was already deceased when I became a Doctor Who fan. He's the only classic doctor I never actually got to meet.
I
met John Pertwee, and Tom. I never met Tom.
Yeah, I've met them all except Tom and the newbies. I haven't met.
I got to see Capaldi, and you guys got to see David Tennant in Tampa.
Right.
I was in it. Yeah.
Not you, Jeremy.
No, you're talking to them.
Two. Yeah, but them.
I realized that immediately after I said it. Thanks for not ignoring it and just Thanks for calling me out and saying that's good.
And who knows about Matt Smith? Hopefully in the future I'll get to meet him, and I'd love to meet Eccleston because Eccleston was really. good.
That's like meeting a rare
Mark,
white.
sweetheart. I will push you right over to the side for Eccleston.
Yeah.
There you go. And Iggy, you were going to ask me two questions. It was that Marvel and favorite superhero? That was it. I just wanted to make sure we.
What I was going to write is it's basically tapping on the whole writer aspect of you. If you could write, because now obviously that I know that it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What would you change about the story of Spider-Man or add?
That's a good one.
Wow, that's a great question. What would I change or add? I think. Part of what I would change or add is the idea that I think that it's not even so much that I would change or add anything, but he kind of is stuck a little bit. I love Dan Slott and what he's doing now. I don't think it's bad. I know there are detractors around there, but I like what he's doing now. But I feel like when I was a kid, I remember reading like the Spider-Man Wolverine miniseries where it was dark. I mean, Spidey had a really dark thing, and then right around that time, he got buried by Kraven in the Kraven's Last Hunt thing. And I don't think you can or should do that all the time. But I do think like there is room for a different type of Spider-Man story, a story where he's out of his element and vulnerable and quite unsettled by what's happening. I don't quite know what that would be, but that would sort of be the story that I would want to do. Almost like I think it would be great to do a story. I always like the idea of challenging and starting a story if you're going to write about an existing character where things are different right off the bat and even the reader doesn't quite know what's going on. And Spidey has to figure out, why is his world so changed type of thing. And I think that would be sort of what I would want to do.
Okay, so your style as a writer is definitely a page turner. You want to, because that's coming across to me like. It's just I'm trying to figure out and you are reeling me along and I'm falling right for it and I need to find out what's going on. And then the biggest thing about it is that what I look for in an author is, can you make me like this character to the point that I almost can't predict how he's got to think and behave because I know him so well.
And I think comics, they trade on that, right? And I think if you're going to have a story, and Doctor Who is like this too, where the character is so well known and their personality traits are well known and how they're going to react to things is well known, then one of the best things you can do is take that and put them in a situation where that doesn't serve them, where that personality is all of a sudden, doesn't match up with their strengths. And,
because you're learning with the character.
Yeah. So I mean, almost like Spidey in like a horror setting, Marvel used to do this all the time. For no reason whatsoever, Spider-Man would be in space, or Red Sonja would be there, or he'd be in the Savage Land fighting dinosaurs, and you'd be like,
"Well, have to have Howard the Duck guest star in Marvel Team Up."
Exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, he's with Howard the Duck, and you kind of go, okay, well, now he has to deal with being on Late Night with David Letterman for no apparent reason. That's the type of stuff, and I miss that about comics sometimes, the idea.
At least it's not Jay Leno, because Jay Leno looks like he's fell asleep on a magic marker, unfortunately.
Yeah, and denim on denim, he wears a lot of denim. Like 1990s mom jeans denim. I don't really get that.
Jeremy,
he just doesn't let the Canadian thing go. He really doesn't.
Yeah. Jeremy, we're at the point of the show, near the end of the interview, where we give our guests the chance to plug or tell about anything upcoming that they are promoting or doing in the near future. And so this is your chance to plug away.
Well, for right now, I'm working on, the best thing to do is follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Radick, and that's when you'll know if and when I'm going to be popping up at conventions here and there. I've got some irons in the fire about going to them. But for the most part, I think go my stuff at capelesscrusader.org, where I do weekly comic reviews and features. Really proud of being asked to write for that site because it's not just about comics, but we say comics in context. So there's a lot of social justice issues that we talk about and also trying to look at comics and how they reflect our society, not just, this is cool.
I'm going to have to check out that site because that sounds like a good site.
Yeah, and so, we want to write about
link
issues.
Up on the show page, by the way.
That would be great. So check out reviews there if you're interested in comics, and I also review, I do all the Doctor Who comic reviews, and as well as interviews with creators, and we do some news stuff, but mostly what we're interested in doing is kind of talking about why certain things matter as opposed to, the latest news. And that's what I'm doing right now. There's some other writing projects that I'm talking about, but as I said, I can't really, until they're finalized, I don't want to jinx it. I'm just superstitious that way, but hopefully there'll be more news on my Twitter feed soon.
All right. Any last questions, guys?
No.
Nope. Everyone's still awake?
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Well, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and it was great meeting you in Oklahoma City.
Oh, great. I hope to see you guys soon, and I'll be listening. So entertain me, darn it.
It was really a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you don't mind, but I would like to share your interesting response on my site.
Absolutely.
And take care, man.
Yeah, please.
Thank you once again, Jeremy. We really enjoyed having you here on Mark Who 42, and we definitely, because you asked for it, we'll definitely have you back. Just shooting the breeze about Doctor Who in general, because he wants to talk to us. He wants to be part of Mark Who 42's family, and you are, Jeremy.
Well, every guest that we've had on the show is a part of the Mark Who 42 family.
Yeah,
so,
but no, he wants to come back and just talk Doctor Who, because he's a big Doctor Who fan.
I heard, and I'm loving it. I can't wait.
Let's talk now about what's coming up in our personal appearances. Christian, what's coming up in March?
All of our appearances are going to eventually make its way to markwho42.net. If you've heard the previous episodes, we've got a lot of conventions. So I'm just going to do the ones that are coming up in March. Be on the lookout. There might be one in April. We were getting close to locking that in. And plus, we've got a ton of conventions coming out throughout the year. MegaCon Tampa Bay. We'll get to those eventually. But for the ones coming up in March, we're going to be at the Bay Area Renaissance Festival the weekend of the 11th and the 12th. And we're going to be combining forces with our friends at the Whovian Order, Leo and Lon Martin. We're going to be out there, and there's going to be a lot of Whovians. I think this is their second time that the Bay Area has done this during their Renaissance Festival. It got very popular, and we're talking Whovians in the thousands. So if you want to geek out with a lot of people, cosplay contests, trivia contests, and the Mark Who 42 booth will be out there with all your favorite merchandise to buy, including David Tennant CDs as well as John Hurt CDs, and also classic Big Finish. We're just going to have a very, very good time. I'm very excited. The people have been asking for the longest time if we're ever going to be going out to that festival, and I said, I've never been to a Ren fair until just recently.
They're fun.
I know. I just went to one in Brevard.
Oh yeah?
And it was just off the cuff. It was a day that we weren't recording, and I went out there and I just had a blast. I just had some free time, and that's usually how my calendar runs. It's just like, okay, well, I accidentally have free time, so what am I doing today? And I went out there, and Hips of Destruction were out there, and if you've seen the video, gang, from last month, you've seen the Hips of Destruction actually belly dancing with the traveling TARDIS. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Faye Ray who made it happen, and the girls had a great time. And it's and also the traveling TARDIS actually gets to swim with the mermaids. This is It was just a load of fun. I've seen pictures, I'm seeing videos. I'm going like, it looks hot and sweaty and stuff like that. But to actually go out there, I mean, I can't describe it. It is entertaining, and not only that, but knowing that you're going to be out there with Whovians, it's just incredible. I mean, tons and tons of Whovians to geek out with, cosplayers, and just people who have a love and understanding for this wonderful TV show. And I didn't know how many of them were in Tampa until Leo brought it up to my attention. My friend Natalie brought it up to my attention, and like, well, I guess we need to go. So we'll be out there March 11th and 12th, and the following weekend in Bradenton, Florida, at the Bradenton Area Convention Center, located on 1 Haviland Boulevard in Palmetto, Florida. That's kind of weird. It's Bradenton, but it's Palmetto. That's okay. We've been invited to go to my very first Inked and Geeked Expo 2017. This expo is mostly for cosplayers, tattoo artists, and such like that, but the Mark Who 42 booth will be out there for our fans in Bradenton. So if you want to take a shot at getting your hands on some good Doctor Who merchandise, we'll be out there. And by all means, I'm going to be out there with our podcast friends, Happy Hour with Johnny and Deuce.
Oh.
Who were also running for the Spacey Awards from last year. We're going to be out there together. I think they're going to be doing a live feed, live run from there, but I'll be out there talking Doctor Who stuff for all of our fans out in Bradenton who are going to be at the convention. This is hosted by our friend Maria of Gothic Sushi. You do want to check out her Facebook page, Gothic Sushi, and also follow her on Twitter. But I can't wait to go out there either. So this is going to be my first time for a lot of things. I'll be representing Mark Who 42 out there. I might have a buddy with me, I hope. I don't like doing these things out there alone, but I mean, it is what it is. But I'll be out there with the Mark Who 42 booth. If you want to talk Doctor Who, I'm going to be out there all weekend. So definitely enjoy it. I'm excited about both of these conventions taking place. Again, it's by our friends, Gothic Sushi Cosplay Maria. She is awesome, she's adorable, and she's fun to be with.
And we have some thank yous that we need to give out.
Well, we definitely want to give a wonderful shout-out. Well, first and foremost, let me give a shout-out to our friends at Tampa Bay Steampunk Society. You can catch them on Facebook at facebook.com/Tampa Bay Steampunk. We have a picture of their business card on our site. We want to give them a big thank you because they actually provided the audio-visual at the convention, and they were so kind enough to lend us time to use their equipment. So
that was at Time Lord Fest?
That was at Time Lord Fest, which I'm going to get to there in just a second. But if you want to catch these guys are gorgeous. www.tampabaysteampunksociety.org. And while you're mentioning Time Lord Fest, we want to thank Ken Spivey, all the volunteers, all the fans out there for a wonderful time that we had out there. We had Zion and Brandy and a couple of geeks. Want to thank you guys too for just helping us out with panels and such. It was I can't explain it. There were people just flocking to our booth and talking. And we want to congratulate Linda, who won the David Tennant CD, or Big Finish. Congratulations to you there. And we want to thank Ken Spivey, all the volunteers, and everybody who made that convention happen. It was just great. And I just want to give a special shout out to Moxie Magnus, because we're going to be at Wholanta, and I actually got to see her there at Time Lord Fest.
Oh, okay.
So I got a sneak preview of Moxie and who we're going to meet, and lovely person. Yeah. And got to be on one of our panels by chance. So
wow.
Can't wait to see you.
Wholanta is going to be fun in May.
Yes.
Going to be in May 5th through 7th in Atlanta, Georgia. Go to our website. There is a link to find out more about Wholanta. Colin Baker's going to be there, and a lot of other Doctor Who people. Who did they just announce there?
I want to say Jackie Tyler, and that's not her name.
Camille
Kaduri. Yeah, Camille Kaduri. I was just like, I know her as Jackie. That's what's...
Jackie Tyler's going to be there.
Yes.
And just this week, they announced that Nicola Bryant is going to be at Wholanta as well. Of course, you know she's Perpigillium Brown, Perry from Doctor Who, during the time of the 5th and 6th Doctors. So that's going to be a great addition.
Please check out markwho42.net and our Facebook page. We will have upcoming adventures in other conventions that we'll be having out there.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this week's episode of Marku 42. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you come back. We are going to just get stronger and stronger. Don't forget, if you haven't already switched from your podcast feed to the new Doctor Who, the Marku 42 podcast listing, please do so now, because the old listings are going to disappear by the middle of March. So we just want to give you a fair warning. Please make the switch so you don't miss any of our show. Any last words, Christian?
No, guys, I can't wait to see all of our fans and our future fans, wibbly wobbly, timely wimey, out at the convention circuit. And I can't wait until the new series starts. It's been a year. It's been a rough year. And anytime Doctor Who's not on the TV, it's always a rough time.
So until next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
See you around.
Marku 42 is written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Christian Basil, Patty Hawkins, Iggy Matthews, and Zion Kiros. This episode was edited, directed, and produced by Mark Baumgarten and co-produced by Christian Basil. Visit Marku42.net, where you can register and become part of the Whoniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@marku42, subject line, ? If you'd like a chance to be a guest on our radio show, send an email to our Media Relations Director, Christian Basil, at marku42media@yahoo.com. You can have Marku42 entertain at your next event or convention. Go to heroesonhand.com/Marku42. Space Coast Comics is a free monthly magazine found in over 120 locations currently throughout Brevard County, parts of Osceola, Volusia, and Indian River County in Florida, and soon to be available in Chicago. Follow them on Facebook to learn more. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten, 2017. This is Krypton Radio.